Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Tompsett, along with my very handsome partner in crime, Aaron Quinn. Aaron, apparently we are able to win one-score games. Were you aware of that?
You know what? I was, and I'm glad that it happened because every time that anyone says anything about the Buffalo Bills under the last 3 years, they come out and do it that next week. I had a feeling it was going to go down that way for this week, but I'm glad that narrative's over. That was actually as the clock was ticking down and Tyler Bass was coming out for this game, which we'll get to how that all got to that point later. I had some people over. I leaned over and said, well, I'm glad that narrative only lasted a week, and we don't have to talk about that one anymore. So the Bills can win a one-score game, and this team, man, we said it offline. Ooh. They just always find a way to make it interesting, man, even when they're the best team in the world.
So it is now you are joining us because the Buffalo Bills have beaten the Baltimore Ravens 23-20 as time expired, and it is time for me to crack open.
I ran in here so fast.
Beautiful Uncle Jumbo's victory drink.
Sorry, guys at Jumbo's. I ran in here so fast to get all this set up because I got honestly. While you're pouring that delicious, again, Uncle Jumbo's distillery here, local in Western New York. While you're pouring that, 2 hours ago, an hour and a half ago, I was literally, I got to the position of laying on the couch during the game, like laid back and like I'm no longer up in position, and then it just all happened so fast. I forgot my Jumbos, man.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. Before we dive in and get into the fun of this game, help us out. Give us a like. Make a like there. Press that button. Smash it. Even you can mash it like this. You can hit it with your nose. Whatever you want to do. Give us a like. Let other people know about what's going on here. We have a ton of good things to go into for this game, but good Lord, did that game stress me out? Holy crap!
Yeah, I mean, I do think. You weren't here for the preview show, but I think if you would have been here, you would have probably had the same conversation that Hans and I was having. That I think we expected a close one-score game all around when you're going up against a team like the Ravens. Sort of similar to what I thought maybe the Titans could be. You know, well coached, a good football organization. You know they're going to give you a lot of problems. Lamar is a matchup nightmare, so you know at any point that he can go off. Not necessarily the way I thought in the kind of like mirrored halves that we saw. But I thought that would be a close game throughout, but it went from a blowout to a close game, which is probably even more stressful than just a close game throughout. Cause you just thought maybe the Bills wouldn't be able to pull off the blowout with all the, again, back to the narrative of the one score games this week that maybe they wouldn't be able to pull it out, but they did. But I'll tell you what, Greg, even though it was stressful, the game felt very Billsy in the first half, but in the back of my mind, I never got to the point of feeling where I did during those drought years because of having Josh Allen. You know, at any moment that if you just can put a couple stops together, that Josh Allen can get your team down the field a few times. And that was the one missing piece that we had never had before when we were Billsy. So even though sometimes it feels Billsy, they're no longer Billsy here in Buffalo.
I like where you took that. And obviously I am an eternal optimist by nature. I look at the positive side of everything. I find a way to talk myself into everything. I am an optimist. I am a homer. I am someone who always wants to believe in those things. So, I hate it when in the first quarter, I literally had people telling me we were now going to miss the playoffs in the first quarter of a week 4 football game. I had people in my mentions telling me that, well, screw Super Bowl. We're not even going to make the playoffs now. But just take a breath, man.
Yeah.
Just settle down. Take a breath. Don't get me wrong. This game was horrible. Anybody who follows my game day thread, I used a lot of ugly language. It was ugly on defense. It was ugly on offense. Josh Allen looked bad. Like there were, the receivers couldn't deal with the weather. We had a lot of things
in the first half negative. 11 for 22 in the first half, and the QB rating was sub 60. It wasn't pretty at all.
And being in those positions, it's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to vent about, oh my gosh, I can't believe how ugly this has been. The leaps that people take to then project forward of what this means for the next literally 13 more games in the regular season and multiple playoff games, because there will be multiple playoff games. It just makes me crazy. It's okay. Take a breath, go for a walk if you need, take a step outside, get some fresh air into your lungs. It's okay. And you want to know why things like this are possible when you have the amount of talent the Buffalo Bills had. Sure. They played bad. They handed the Ravens a free touchdown to start the game. They made multiple additional mistakes and put themselves in bad positions. They dug an
They keep putting
enormous
Zach
hole.
Moss in the football game.
They play Zach Moss in a football game, which is just a bad decision by itself. But altogether, this is why people maintain hope.
Yeah.
Hey, let's get it sorted here. What do they need to do now to get their wits back about them? And let's talk about that first quarter. You know, as you start out the way they did, what was it like as you were kind of going through that initial hole that felt enormous to be down 14-3 in the first quarter?
Well, after the 7-0, I felt still pretty good, right? Like, I do think the Bills have gotten to a point where you expect them to go up when they get the ball coming out. Like, I had one person come into my mentions right around halftime saying, and that the taking the ball was a huge coaching mistake and that we should talk about that. And I don't necessarily agree. I feel like when you have Josh Allen, you should feel confident that you can go out and get points on the board right away. Like the Patriots would do that.
You mean setting the NFL record for the most consecutive games starting a game with a touchdown is a good thing?
Right. Yes. And so not being able to do that and getting a swing in the other direction is definitely a gut punch. It definitely punches you in the mouth. But again, this team, I have so much confidence in Josh. I have so much confidence in this defense that I felt pretty good. But you're right. When it got to the point of 14-3 there after, so they had the touchdown to Dobbins right after the interception. So, and I rated that interception, by the way, as a 2-pointer on toxic differential because it was a pick plus a 27-yard gain, which is huge game turning type play. They get the touchdown right away. You get the 10-yard return by McKenzie. That drive looked pretty good to go down and get the field goal, but they stalled. And that I think is what felt a little bit old Billsy. Like they gave that first half a little bit of that old Billsy feeling because you come down and stall and then things kind of start to go sideways for your team and your offense in terms of turning the ball over. But you settle for the field goal. And that's just not something that we've seen out of this Bills offense, especially early in a game recently. Like it's been a long time since we had this conversation about how field goals don't win games and you can't settle for field goals against good teams. Right. And then so you go down and settle for them right out of the gate. And that's where this game kind of, wow, this feels like maybe this could be a weird one that it could be a long Sunday afternoon that I'm not interested in going to talk to Greg afterwards.
Yeah, you're talking about at one point having 1st and 10 at the Baltimore 23.
Yeah.
This team for the past 18 months, maybe the past 24 months, that's a touchdown. That's a touchdown. Yeah, you got 1st and goal heading into the red zone. We convert those. So starting out that way was frustrating. And then really the one that killed me was I like the way they started the next drive. They had the pop-up kick. You start Baltimore at their own 19, and then Baltimore with a 15-play, 81-yard drive that
9 minutes, 9+ minutes.
In the moment just felt completely deflating. People bringing up references to that Colts game, to the Ravens game from a couple years ago, just getting punched in the mouth with the
I got worried about the nickel
conversions.
I thought that was going to be the one to pop us out of nickel. Like I could see coming to the sidelines and Leslie Frazier just saying, hey, we got to get big, right? Like we got to get some bodies in here. Because it really was just going forward at every play. But there was some weird stuff like there were also a couple plays in there where Lamar just got free, just doing Lamar Jackson things, Josh Allen type things that only those guys can do. But super deflating drive. And we'll talk later, almost had another identical super deflating drive like that. Like this Ravens team, man, there's very few teams that I think can move the ball like that with any type of consistency on this team. But when they're clicking, that type of physicality, I do understand why people harken back to that Colts game. Like the last year's Colts, this Ravens, even last year's Patriots, maybe like you get some of these physical teams that can play balanced football, and that is tough to stop. I felt bad for Leslie Frazier after that drive. Like no matter what you did, couldn't stop them from going forward.
Paul, our man here, paying us back for the one pass postage. For anyone who isn't sure, check out the show description here. You can sign up for our one pass membership and be able to join ahead. We did send some things out, maybe at some expense we didn't quite plan for, to the UK and to Australia and Portugal and a couple different places. But we love you guys. We appreciate your support. And then you get to the end of that first quarter and you go back and okay, we answered here. We're down 14-3. They answered, they go up 14-3. We got to put something together here. We actually get a nice play to Knox for the first down, and then boom, Singletary fumbles it, and you're ending the first freaking quarter with them having the ball up 14-3. And even for me, like the eternal optimist, it was really hard not to have this just ain't our day kind
Yeah.
of feeling.
In hindsight, a very interesting sort of thing to put a bow on that is everybody knows I follow toxic differential, right? And
Yeah.
at halftime, this game was 5-0 in favor of the Ravens. But we're talking in here in the first quarter, right? Most of this happened in the first quarter of that game because where are you there? So you had that right before the end of the first quarter, you had the Dobbins 20-yard reception after the fumble. So they got the fumble, then they have a toxic differential explosive play coming out. You feel gut punch. And so at that point, they were already up 4-0. So they didn't get another, they got a 21-yard Duvernay off the bobble catch later on in the game that we'll talk about. But up to that point, it was right out of the gate in that first quarter. You got 4 explosive plays against you to start the game. And the fact that the Bills at that point in the game were only down to 14-3 is kind of a miracle to be that kind of explosive plays going against you. So they really buckled down from that point on, but it didn't feel like it. It still got out of hand here going into the second here.
Yeah, so you flip into the second here, and I will say I was bringing up in my game day thread that at this point, this was a pretty critical spot where you got to that point. They looked like they had a nice conversion, but it got called back on the offensive pass interference with a he extended his arm. It wasn't like a blatant push off, but he extended his arm fully.
If I was a Ravens fan, I'd feel ticky-tacky on that.
Yeah, that's how I always address all those. We'll get to that at the end with the one that Josh got. And how I would react if the Bills got called for a play like that. I wouldn't be happy if Dawson Knox got called for that, but it brought it back, and then Von Miller comes through with the sack, and at that point, even, obviously it's Justin Tucker, so it's automatic, but even giving up a field goal there, I kind of was like, all right, okay. We were already down 2 scores. We're still down 2 scores. That one's not backbreaking. Let's see if we can put something together here. And I think this is, again, where it kind of doubled down, where, 2 runs to Zach Moss. They tried to get something to McKenzie in this McKenzie play. I was in a dark moment at the time because we're down. We needed to answer. McKenzie has a chance to do what we've seen Cole Beasley do maybe 24 times the last couple of years, where he would do that thing where you catch it and turn, and he would just kind of dive forward like a little leapfrog kind of deal, where he would always just turn and dive and get a little extra yards. And that if McKenzie just had the field awareness to realize you just caught a ball 9.5 yards into a 10-yard play, or I take that back. I think it was 4.5 yards into a 5-yard play. All you got to do is catch it and turn forward, but he catches it and takes a step back to gather himself and try to make a play. You have to have the awareness in the moment of where the first down line is. And I was really frustrated. Then we telegraph an inside hand up to Zach Moss. And then my mind went back to dark places there in the moment that we just punted it back to give them the ball down 17-3.
Yeah, it's tough because back to the Ravens drive there, I was with you on that. Like, obviously you wanted to get a full stop and not allow them to have any more points, but you really needed to keep them from scoring another touchdown. Touchdown blows this game off. I texted you even, I think at half, and been like, this game should be for like 24-0, 24-3 at this point. And this would have been a drive where you just can't stop them. But Von Miller, 3rd and 16, coming in big, getting a big sack. That gave me a lot of hope. Like, that is why you bring in a Von Miller. And we always say it, right? Big money downs, big players make big plays on big downs. 3rd down's the biggest one. You paid him that type of money. You brought him in to make a play on a 3rd and long against the supreme athlete quarterback like this. He does it fantastic. You repay that by getting Zach Moss, the absolute ultimate momentum, just exhauster. He just, any type of momentum you get, he will stuff it right in your face and give it back to the other team. And it's nothing against Zach, actually. I think, I like Zach Moss. I've been up and down on him throughout his different moments here in his Bills career. I don't think the running game in general is great. No. I just think Devin's probably the most consistent, but it just feels like every time they're making this switch back and forth, whenever Zach's turn is, whether it's play calling, offensive line, his running ability, something just stalls on this offense, and you can just feel it within the game. And as soon as he got out on the field, I just felt that way on the couch. And it's exactly what happened. And this was a moment in the game, Greg, where I really thought this was going to be the type of moment where we talk about where it's like, okay, the defense finally gives you something to stop some of the bleeding, right? You get a big play, force them into a field goal, you get the ball back to respond, and you just do the opposite to your defense and give them a quick 3 and out and get them back on the field. Tough. And it felt like things were really going to unravel at this point.
Yeah. Well, and then it goes into, again, what felt like one of those here we go again drives, ends up being an 11 play, 7 minute and 40 second drive with a couple pretty crazy conversions. This, Lamar's going down the field, moving it. We're not even getting them into third down. They had gotten off the field, they'd converted every second down.
This was that other Duvernay bobble.
Yes.
Crazy Lamar. I mean, it's a Josh Allen play that Lamar made, right?
Correct. And, it gets to that point where, they finally do get him back. They sack Lamar, get him to 3rd and 18, where it seems like, okay, it's 3rd and 18. It would be a 55-yard field goal at that point. Okay, maybe we got a little something here. And they get that wacky play. They get it to Duvernay and get to that point. So, they convert again. Now we're down 3 scores, come back. And this one killed me, was the quick 3 and out. Not able to get anything going.
Just a tough stretch, man.
James Cook has a ball. He's got some room in front of him, drops straight through his hands. Jamison Crowder's worried about the hit coming, lets it get into his body, doesn't catch it with his hands.
Tight. That was a tight space. Like
it was. It would have been a tough catch.
McKenzie caught one later and took a
nasty
end
hit.
Up with a concussion.
Nasty hit. I haven't seen it confirmed, but he was certainly in concussion protocol to be checked.
Coverage was extremely tight throughout the day today, especially on some of that over the middle slant stuff. And that one was a tough one for me. I haven't noted to go back and watch it because it was really great coverage. And Crowder, it looked like it hit him in the hands, but that was in heavy traffic in that moment. So that's a tough one. I wanted to be able to catch that, but I do understand.
Yeah. And it gets there. And then this was at that point, you punt it back to them. All right, I feel like it's over here. You're giving them the ball with 2 minutes, 51 seconds left. And they're getting the ball coming out of halftime. Yeah. So they got a chance. They're already up 3 scores. They got a chance to completely put this away. And at that point, we literally had not stopped them once. Baltimore had scored on every possession. So coming into that one, that we finally got the first, kind of 3 and out. They had a penalty there as it went around, but they finally got back to where they were able to get the ball back. And
minute 40. What a great stop in this game. And really, now this is part of the fun of processing this live right now. In hindsight, looking back on this game and processing it this way, that's really, I'm not going to go in and say this is my drive of the game because there's a lot that happens here later in this game, but this is probably the drive that gets it going, right? That first domino to fall to give you some of that confidence to gain back some momentum is getting this stop and getting the ball back for your offense with time to score with a minute 40.
Yeah. So I will go that far. This is where my, West Herr drive of the game comes in. And
not the defensive drive, was it? Or the
no, this next one here.
Okay. Yeah.
This is where it came in. And so the Bills take over, minute 47 left. They've got the ball. They're down 20-3. They're down 3 scores. You have a chance to salvage something here just to be able to go in and get something going. They get started by, going into the 2-minute drill, no huddle. Quick play out to Davis, another one to McKenzie. They take a little bit of a shot to Diggs, get a little something going, and then Josh scrambles a couple times. They get something going here, finally get it rolling, and then get down to where they're all the way down there. Knox almost scores and goes out of bounds on the sideline, and then they run a really nice kind of sneaky, almost like a screen, but they had Davis and Knox out there in front of McKenzie, just kind of getting in the way.
I love how Josh Allen brought McKenzie a little bit back. He was like, bring it back a little, bring it back. Okay, it's stop right there. Boom, give it to you. It was calm, cool, collected. Everything people said he wasn't going to be in those big spots still is.
Yeah. Critical spot there. And they convert there with 9 seconds left, no time left on the clock. Absolutely perfect clock management. I had a couple people talking to me about being frustrated that first down conversion. They let it go from a minute 01 to 37 seconds left, but they had 3 timeouts. So when you're already at the 28-yard line, you care more about keeping the timeouts in the red zone and trying to be able to make sure that you can control any situation that happens there. They were able to do that. I wouldn't have been furious if they called that timeout there. I think they could have saved about 15 seconds. They ran the play at 104. They could have called the timeout at about 52. So maybe they could have saved 15 seconds. I'm perfectly fine keeping the timeout in your pocket. And again, they then go to Singletary for 14 yards on a really nice play, call the timeout, take a shot to Diggs, still have timeouts in their pocket, go to Knox, and he goes out of bounds. But if either of those plays, Diggs is converted or Knox is tackled in bounds, they kept the timeouts to be able to protect it there. And then they were at a shot with 9 seconds left, 1st and goal at the 4. They could run 3 plays there anywhere in the field, including Josh scrambling, because they kept those timeouts and then scored in that situation. It was really, really well done, converted it, make it 20-10, and it was kind of, okay, maybe we got a chance here.
Get a stop, right? Like it was. Now you can talk yourself into this game at 20-10, right? It's a 2-possession ball game. They're going to get the ball at half here. All you need is a stop, and you're in this ball. You get the ball back to Josh and see what we're doing, and you could feel the momentum. Whether or not you believe that's a real thing or not, it got out of hand in this game, and you started to pull it back with that defensive drive here before your drive of the game. But this drive really solidified that, okay, we've got a ball game at half. Again, I think there was that conversation Shady McCoy had after the Rams game and how close that was at halftime, and how he said both teams were having very different conversations at the end of that half. I don't think, I think the Ravens probably felt good about their lead at the half, but I think that the Bills felt pretty good about being down 10 at the half, being down 5-0 in explosive plays, being down in turnover differential, really being down in everything across the board. You're getting run all over. They have balanced offensive attack. You haven't been able to stop anything really until the end of the half. But you got to feel good knowing you went out there, got to stop and got some points on the board. You just told yourself we can do that. Now you got to just do it once more and you're in this game.
So what'd you think when they came out of half here now? I was a little bit nervous that we had really only had the one stop of Baltimore in the entire first half, and that I was worried, was that fluky or can they put another one together again?
Well, I got a little nervous because they came out with a pretty nice return, started the drive off at like the 35. It was like a 10-yard on top of the return.
Yeah, 28-yard return by Duvernay out to the Baltimore 35.
35.
Honestly, pretty rare for our coverage unit this year.
Yeah, no, and it's actually funny. Leftern is a big fan of our show, the account Leftern, and they had made a tweet about how, like, earlier in the game, the defense was kicking short and have good coverage on a number of those plays.
Our man Chris here with a fantastic point for our third quarter coverage.
Yeah, remember when we were all talking about being a bad third quarter team last season? Yeah, now 0 points allowed through 4 games and plus 44-point differential. It's absurd.
44 to 0 in the third quarter.
I want people to pile on things the Bills can't do. Let's just get them all, get a list, and give it to Sean McDermott. Tell them all
bad third quarters, bad clock management.
That's right. Can't play in the weather.
Bad timeout usage. Can't come back in the weather. No one-score games.
That's right.
We'll keep
knock them all off the list. Yeah, no, going into this drive, though, you got that big return. My point with Leftern, he was saying, like, after this return, they didn't kick short again and allow him. It was an explosive enough one where if he broke that last tackle, if he broke that next tackle, he might have been gone on that play. So they get that stop, though. The big one for me that stood out on this first drive, I think this was the part of the game, and maybe a little bit before, but Tremaine Edmonds had a really nice football game. He and Matt Milano were flying all over the place.
Both had phenomenal games today.
And they were always like right there in lockstep together on a lot of run fits. They were like, one would make the tackle, but the other was right there.
A couple times, like one tripped him up, the other cleaned it up, both directions.
Fun day
Edmonds had one that gave to Milano. Milano had ones that gave to Edmonds that both got tackled for loss on those.
Fantastic stuff. And you got the it was a 3rd and 15, and you got a big Tremaine Edmonds sack coming in on the blitz there. They actually brought 6, it looked like, on that play, or brought 5 on that play, and dropped one of the linemen back into coverage. And you got Tremaine Freeman. He is fun. I'm not going to get into like Tremaine as an edge dude, because I don't think he's got that. So I don't want to hear those truthers. But when they do bring him in pass rush from the interior, man, he is funny. He scares even the guys that have seen almost everything in this league. That those limbs running as fast as he is up in the middle, he's going to get you. So end up being a 3-play -5-yard drive to start the half for the Baltimore Ravens here in a 1-minute drive. So you got the ball right back to Josh, who was just itching to get back out there after half.
Yeah. Huge answer. And then they come back with a play. I really thought they had a chance to really take control with another touchdown drive here, but Cameron out, Josh Allen scrambles, got the run game going for the first time. They started with a Josh Allen scramble, Singletary for
drive,
18, man. Singletary for 9, got a little bit going there. And then
at that point I tweeted, I was like, I don't want to see Zach Moss anymore. Singletary operates better with touches, and I think he got a 4-yard loss right after I tweeted. That.
Immediately. It's your fault. Obviously your fault. But they got to where that fourth down play, in hindsight, was really critical. Where scrambling out, they went jumbo set, scrambled. They almost had Josh, and it looked like he was trying to throw it to Singletary, but they went up and mugged him and covered him, and he ended up barely scrambling for it to run for it and kept it alive. To be able to go and pick up the field goal here to bring it within 1 score.
That they had a 3rd and 5 on this drive where we had a bad snap on that, and Josh somehow just manhand, like just leapt forward and picked up 4 yards leaping forward, able to give them that 4th and 1, where he had again, an incredible one. I think it was Sports Illustrated had a screenshot on this 4th and 1 where Josh was like 5-6 yards in the backfield, scrambling out on that fake, and they had the play covered. They had every option for Josh covered. They had Josh dead to rights, and they're like, Josh Allen picked up a first down on this play. It was like a 6-yard gain from the backfield. And just Josh being Josh. Plays like that, just keeping it alive enough for you to go forward and, like you said, get a field goal. And I will say this one felt a little bit defeating because I had talked myself into, let's get a stop out of half and come out and get that touchdown, right? And when this drive stalled a little bit, it's like, okay, you get it to the 1-score game here, but I wanted to get that touchdown and get it to the 1-score game with a field goal where a touchdown takes that lead. Like I really felt like there was not going to be enough time to keep giving the Ravens the ball back. Cause I just didn't think you could, the way they played in the first half, I didn't think you could continue to stop them that many times, where I really thought you had to walk away from this drive with a touchdown, but didn't matter. The 39-yard field goal does end up getting you close enough in hindsight.
And then the big time answer was coming right back on the next play. Lamar scrambled for an early first down. They were able to get a stop. They got to a point where
that Milano run stop on the drive. He had a couple really nice tackles on this drive.
Got Dobbins for the 2-yard loss and got the ball right back again. Another one, 2 minutes, 49 seconds, got the ball right back. And this one was really one of the most powerful drives of the game. You know, you come in here, 9 plays, 80 yards. Josh goes deep to Stephon Diggs for 23 yards. Then another shot right back to Singletary where he makes a couple moves and is able to get there, starts moving down. We unfortunately get to the McKenzie injury play here where, he gets hit really tough on a play. I don't think it was a dirty play. I do think it probably should have been flagged. I understood the explanation, but obviously having McKenzie out with a concussion is scary stuff. Had Khalil Shakir step in and make a big play right off the bat, and then, Josh going back to back with another run on a called quarterback draw and then scrambling out on the naked bootleg for the touchdown. Just a huge,
and just put the middle of his body in a man's face on the way into the end zone. It's just running over large defensive human beings. And it's incredible that he does every week. Again, I guess over and people are just like, this guy's ridiculous. They weren't even the one guy was not even a Bills fan. He's just like, this is just unbelievable what he can do to other dudes, just Josh being Josh. But fantastic drive. 9 play, 80-yard drive, 3 minutes and 27 seconds. Like you said, I think this drive, for me, especially after adding that Miami game and the way the offense just was productive in the sense of yards, but just took a long time to put together scoring drives, to see them go out and sort of take hold of this game. You're now within a 1-score game, and now's the opportunity that you've been waiting for here all afternoon to go and take advantage of that and do it in the fashion that we saw in the first 2 weeks this team play. I think was encouraging here, especially also going forward, that, okay, there's the offense that we're used to again, where you just dominate the game versus even the past drives here that we've talked about where they're slowly getting back into this game. Those felt more a little bit like the laboring drives of like, okay, we're getting down and they could hold us. They holding you to field goals, stuff like that. This drive felt more like the dominant Bills offense that we got used to seeing early.
Yeah. And, then it comes back. We're at a tied game. And I was really hoping for a quick stop, but Baltimore starts going through. You end up getting to where, they kind of thought they converted and Lamar stretched his arm out there. They couldn't really tell, did he stretch his arm out of bounds or did he keep the ball in bounds? It certainly looked close. I get why they didn't.
Was this the drive that led to the fourth quarter? I missed where the fourth quarter started.
Yes, this one went into the fourth quarter. So this was the last drive of the third quarter.
Gotcha.
Going into the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Matter of fact, the first play of the fourth quarter was, they were on first down. They converted because after the Lamar stretch out play, they went for it, which is really gutsy because they were at their own 34.
Yeah.
So you're giving up points if you don't convert there. I get it.
But you almost felt like they were going to guaranteed get it. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends. But yes, having, we weren't blowing their offensive line back, so it certainly seemed like a solid play. I was a little surprised. Lamar's not your stereotypical quarterback sneak quarterback. Like, he's pretty slender. But
that was like a half yard. You just got to fall in the right direction. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. But they converted, so good on them to be able to put that up. Got a couple more plays because then Dobbins started getting something and then it gets to the point where Prince Emili jumps up. I think he might have bounced it off his face mask to be able to get it, goes up in the air, and our man, all-pro Poe, Jordan Poyer, comes down with the interception.
Freaking guys always around the ball.
Oh, and at that point you're talking, now it's interesting. The Bills have the ball with.
Now it's interesting, Greg?
Well,
interesting.
It's been interesting for a minute. But the Bills now have the ball in position at midfield going in. And I'm thinking, I said that because of what happened on the drive.
The next drive.
They're in position now. Okay, we can get something together here.
Deflating.
Of course, I jinxed it. I put, this is a perfect spot for first down play action. Take a shot. No, it's a shot play. Like you just got a turnover. Give me some play action on first down. No, what do? They ram Zach Moss into the middle of the line again. And that's where I wrote, I am all the way done with Zach Moss.
Yeah,
I'm all the way done. I'm all the way done with not only giving him the ball, I don't understand why he's on the roster. I don't understand what he brings that we don't already have. I don't need him game day active. Give me an extra offensive lineman. Give me an extra secondary.
I will tell you, you're not going to like the answer, Greg, but we can sidebar this real quick and talk about it because I think it's James Cook is not doing anything to solidify giving him a roster spot, and the pass protection's probably not there either. And
if Cooks was taking it, maybe you'd be
even if he was like serviceably good, but it seems like every time he's out there in limited snaps, like drop passes, blown protections, like things like every time he's getting an opportunity, he doesn't seem quite ready for the moment yet. And Singletary's a play away from not being in this game, and they're not going to just have Cook or some street free agent. I think that because Zach Moss knows the protections and stuff, that's what's keeping him in a job. But I agree with you. I mean, I'm fine with keeping him on this active roster and stuff like that, but stop having him out there to kill drives. It really just have him as an insurance policy for Devin Singletary, or if Singletary's gassed.
Yeah. So the only thing that salvaged this was a ridiculous punt by Sam Martin.
He had to warm up a little bit in this game.
Josh Allen, had his only sack of the game. He got sacked on a play that they brought a lot of pressure. Good on them. The Bills offensive line actually did a pretty decent job today. But they gave up a sack here. It was 4th and 21, obvious punt situation. Sam Martin boots it 56 yards and it bounces straight out of bounds at the 5-yard line. It was like a textbook coffin corner punt that was gorgeous. So sets them up there, and then somehow
actually, are you going into the next drive here?
Yeah.
If you want to pull up the graphic, because this is
please.
My drive of the game here. This is my Wester drive of the game here, because there's been some great drives here, and I don't want to take away from your drive. I think that's also a fantastic choice you made here. But this drive is a tough one because this, I think, is what had me. If you go back and look at my Apple iWatch heart rate monitor, this one probably is where had at the worst of this game. Like you said, you get the punt that pins them, but then the Ravens just come out with a very balanced drive. Justice Hill comes out with a 10-yard run, backs up with a 12-yard run. You get a holding call on Taron Johnson on what looked like maybe a good stop. On that Taron Johnson one, too, for people who don't remember, this is a call that I do think that the committee needs to take a look at, where a guy's either running up the sideline or up the seam, and a ball comes in that is short, underthrown ball, and the receiver's turning to get for it, and the defender can't really make that turn to defend it. I think they need to come up with something where if it hits the defender in the butt, or like beyond the numbers and down, or something that wasn't going to be a catchable ball anyway. We can't. Or
it needs to be something different and not a spot foul that you.
There's
get
nothing
the yardage.
Yes, it's a 17-yard play.
Yeah.
They just give him a free 17-yard play. So that hurts in this drive. So you've given up 10, 12, 17, really all in a row here. You finally get them in a 3rd and 8. They do get a first down on that 3rd and 8. You do get another flag on Taron Johnson this is where the 17-yard one is. I'm apologizing. Taron got a hold earlier, which was a 5-yard. Here you get the 17-yard DPI. And then you get a 3rd and 12. You got Lamar Jackson in 3rd and 12, and he scrambles. This guy's unbelievable to watch. He's such a headache. And actually, I thought the pass rush did a pretty good job. I think people were frustrated early in that first half. You've got to contain Lamar. Like, you're trying to stay in your lanes. It's a tough.
If you over pursue, you give him yards.
You die. We saw it happen a couple times in this game. You just gave him free yards. So anyways, then you get 2nd and goal at this point. You get a Milano stop. 3rd and goal.
Big time stuff on Dobbins.
Big time stop by Milano. Then you get a big stop by Hamlin. Looked like Lamar was going to break free. Had a wide open lane right in the middle of the field. Looked like he was going to come free. Then the wall of DBs just came in. Hamlin gets a stop there.
Yeah, Poyer right there with him.
Yeah, Poyer was right there. Yeah, it was like a wall just opened up. Usually, I've seen Tom Brady kill the Bills with that for years, where it's just like 5 yards to go and some unathletic quarterback scrambles up. So when seeing Lamar go to tuck it and run, I thought that play was for sure going to score. But that's, I think, where the difference of Lamar and Josh. Josh runs over those safeties and pulls them into the end zone. Yeah.
Literally did on the drive before.
Yeah. Huge play here. That was a 3rd and goal. You got the stop by Hamlin. 4th and goal. You get another one. Jordan Poyer. Lamar's back there scrambling around a little bit. Jordan Poyer comes in. And this, you look like you want to say something about this Jordan Poyer pick, but to me, this is the difference.
The decision on 4th and goal.
Oh, I know. What do you
Where it's a tied game. I mean, it's the same position, I guess, as actually, no, it's not. I was going to compare it to the Tennessee game. That was a choice of whether to tie the game or go for the win. When you're already tied and your worst case scenario is walking away with a 3-point lead and trusting your defense, I'm torn.
That's why they don't trust this defense.
Yeah,
they don't, and you wouldn't either. They gave
not with the second half they've seen.
They've seen it before against Miami.
Yeah.
Right. Like they saw before. So that, to me, we had this conversation here at my house because I agree. Everyone was like, here, you take the field goal. And I was like, yeah, I think under most circumstances you do, but a lot of these coaches play within the game. Right. And you have seen your defense give up. Like Josh Allen is getting the ball and he's scoring if he gets the ball. And I think that Josh Allen has solidified that in coaches' heads league wide, the way he played in that KC game, the way he played in that playoff stretch starting the year here, that I think Josh Allen being on the other sideline scared Harbaugh into John Harbaugh into
thinking he had to score a touchdown.
I got to get 7 here. Yeah, if I put up 3, they're going to go down and win the game, and then I'm going to look like a putz then too. So I do understand the thought process of going for it on the 4th down here. But this weekend it wasn't a great throw. They made Lamar scramble a little bit, look through his progressions, and he threw up kind of a desperation one. But to me, just in general, Poyer coming down with the multiple interceptions, getting this interception, it was the difference of having him and not. You talked about the drop off. Yeah. I was a lot more comfortable with the, Jaquan and Hamlin and those guys being backup safeties, but the drop off was quite significant. Just not even having one of those guys of Poyer and Hyde out there. And you saw that come out to play. So this was my drive of the game because obviously it gave you a chance to go end up doing what we had to do to win the game. So for me, this doesn't even have, if they end up scoring on that drive, your best bet is tying, going to overtime and see what happens,
or trying to go for a touchdown. Because they got to a point where they would have taken shots to the end zone. They were down there and had the chance to go for the win.
But then you tie at best, or have to go for 2, or you're getting a situation where you don't have a chance to just go down and win the game.
Yeah. So they turn the ball over there. The Bills take the ball with 4 minutes and 7 seconds. 4 minutes and 7 seconds at their own 20. They got to go the length of the field. It's tied game. They know they can play for a field goal in that position because of, again, all-pro Poe, Jordan Poyer making the interception and getting the ball back.
That's a long field to get to know. Yes, you got the time, but
you had just gone 3 and out on your previous possession, and they had just gotten their first sack of the game on the previous possession.
And Crowder and McKenzie are out.
Yes, yeah, and you're missing Crowder and McKenzie, so now you got a rookie in there at slot receiver. They start out something quick and simple, little dump off to Diggs, another one Singletary for 4, and this is where I was nervous. Man. Woo! That 3rd and 2 right there, where you're sitting there and like, oh my gosh, what are they going to do? They got to convert this. They get it, and this was all day. I actually was going back and forth with a guy on Twitter about Josh kind of rifling it in there early in the game, even though it was raining. And I said, that's kind of what Josh is like. If he sees a guy open, he's going to try to fit it in there.
That's what he do.
But in this one, he feathered it perfectly over the zone coverage to Dawson Knox for a huge 20-yard pickup. Really, really big. Came right back with a Josh Allen scramble. Then again comes back to Khalil Shakir, gets himself set up. Got a penalty called.
Yes.
But then here they go to dump off to Singletary. It looks like it's going to be 2nd and 15 with 2:05 left. Brandon Stevens gets called for a play that I think they explained it. I think he stopped his momentum, and the referee decided that he could have stopped himself altogether and gone off to the side, but he stopped his momentum and then ended up lunging forward and hitting Josh. I tell you, if the Buffalo Bills get called for that and Taron Johnson comes on a nickel blitz and comes free and makes that same hit on Lamar Jackson and gets called for in that spot in the game, I lose my freaking mind.
Sure. But on the other side,
I think the technicality was right.
And I have Josh Allen, and I better get that call.
Yeah. No, but maybe that's where we're at. That's a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers call.
This is how sports is. This is not just a football thing. This is across all sports my entire life. Jordan, everyone does it. league, any single league you look in, and if you're gonna see that called for other quarterbacks around the league. If the league is just saying I'm out here to protect quarterbacks, I also want my big guy to get those protections, because a lot of times Josh isn't going to get those calls that the other teams do, and so I get it. Like, I agree with you. If I was a Baltimore fan, I'd be really salty about that call. Yeah. Ultimately, I don't think that's the call that determined the game for them. So that they can be as salty as they'd like, but
correct. Coming back, you gave up a 16-yard play right after this. So, I mean, they certainly were in.
And there's a lot of infighting about what happens next for the Baltimore Ravens to worry about fighting about this.
Yeah, correct. So, I will say there were some times earlier in the game, the first down runs, some of the telegraphed inside runs, all those things that I don't think were great. I don't think Ken Dorsey was great early. I think that this was one of his rougher games.
Discussing Eric's point. So for podcast listeners here tomorrow, Eric Farrell points out, love the show and love our defense. After we were gifted 7+ points at the get-go, only 13 points for the hottest offense in the league here, same for the Ravens. Cool stuff,
they didn't score again in the second half, So getting to that point, this one was one of my favorite play calls in the entire game. Really sneaky. They went empty, and they put Devin Singletary out as the split wide receiver with Dawson Knox and Gabe Davis in front of him. They then had Singletary kind of float back and did what is normally a tunnel screen to a receiver who's not necessarily always used to running a screen. And now what you've done is put Dawson Knox, a great blocking tight end, and our best blocking receiver out in front of Devin Singletary, who is used to running a screenplay.
And you got Spencer Brown out there too.
Yes, gets Brown running out there, picks up 16 yards. That was really the backbreaker, took it right down to the 11. And this is where they now flipped. They take their second time out there because already I brought it up at the point of the
Singletary had a nice 8-yard run to back that. Like, he had a nice little shifty move. It looked like he might even explode that one. That was a nice little...
I'm not sure if he went down on purpose and realized it, or he just tripped and stumbled. But Baltimore was trying to let him score.
Yes, it helped that he went down.
Yes. And in that spot, I made the call in my thread about when they challenged it. I'm like, that looks like he's kind of out of bounds. This is weird. And you're risking losing a second half timeout. And I'm super, super anxious about second half timeouts, that you can't roll the dice on stuff like that, especially if you're going to go for it anyways. If they were going to punt, okay. But if you're going to go for it anyways, like, I guess, and don't get me wrong, everything's easy in hindsight if they get it. But here, they already were missing a timeout. You now had to take a timeout after the 16-yard tunnel screen to Singletary. Then they try to let him score and can't. They even saw one of the defensive linemen try to carry him and push him into the end zone. You see Marcus Peters throwing his hands up, getting mad that the safety was involved in the tackle.
Yeah.
And then they have to take their third timeout. And now you're at a point where I was a little nervous about, okay, are the Bills going to play this right in this situation? And they played it absolutely textbook perfectly. Quarterback sneak, kneel, game-winning field goal. It was absolutely picture perfect. You kick the field goal as time expires. Don't give the other team a chance. We saw what happened with Cleveland and the Jets, where Nick Chubb went in and scored the touchdown and gave them a chance to come back, because you're like, oh, well, we're scoring a touchdown, we're going up by a big score. No, win the game. What is the play that helps you win the game? This was absolutely textbook coaching by Sean McDermott. Perfect clock management. You kick the easy chip shot field goal as time expires. You don't do a quarterback sneak a second time, because you run the risk of them carrying him into the end zone. So doing a quarterback sneak to get it down close, 2 kneel downs, kicking the field goal as time expires, picture perfect.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. Is exactly. I mean, and Sean McDermott
here talking about that is why Marcus Peters was upset, because they were telling their teammates to let him score, and one of the safeties made a tackle on Singletary.
Right. No, this is picture perfect, and I think McDermott alluded to this last week and in his post-game press conference, when he said, this is something that they practice over and over again. They understand the situational football. These are things they practice, and the situation didn't go correctly for them last week, but for them,
shout out to our follower here. We actually even talked about it beforehand. Zach calling us out. Yeah. This was our Uncle Jumbo's responsibility.
We just forgot to put the graphic up. That's my fault.
To put the graphic up. Yeah. Shout out to our friends at Uncle Jumbo's. If you're going to enjoy these tasty beverages, you need to do so responsibly. That's right. Sean McDermott, Ken Dorsey and Josh Allen were very responsible at the end of this game to lock it up.
Yeah, no, I don't think Sean McDermott's gotten enough credit during this era. I know people want to give him a hard time for, collapsing in big moments of games. This was a one-score game where the team actually did it perfectly, and maybe they won't get the credit they deserve because it's a regular season win, whatever. But more times than not, he's making the right call on fourth down. More times than not, they are doing the right things. Things get in the way, bad snaps, things like that don't allow them to execute at the end of the game, maybe like they would want to. But this was picture perfect from top to bottom. So kudos to the coaching staff, kudos to the players, and good on them for using this responsible play of the game to get that narrative and monkey off their back. Because now there's not a whole lot to come back out and get on this team about right now.
Yeah, and now kind of stepping back and looking at the overall, if there's anything we didn't, go through from the game, Josh Allen ends up with what looks like kind of a pedestrian box score, 29 to 36, 213 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, pretty low yards per attempt, still 70 yards rushing and a touchdown and some pretty critical runs. Singletary had some solid runs. Pretty normal day for Stephon Diggs, 4 for 62, a lot of different receivers, 8 different receivers caught a ball, but nobody had a great game. This ended up being kind of an ugly, mucked up win in how they dug a deep hole and came back. But from an offensive standpoint, I don't think that there was anything other than Josh Allen finding a way to win.
Yeah, no, what has been nice a little bit to see here this year, and it's not anything big numbers so far, but is Devin Singletary being sort of included in this run game or in this pass game, right? As an extension
4 for
of the run game. Yeah. And a lot of it's been getting him screens or dump off plays. It's stuff that we hadn't seen him doing in the past. Last week, I think he got multiple like 10-yard gains on little dumps, a 20-yard one. This week, you sort of that tunnel screen that you just alluded to in that last drive. That's all they're doing is saying, hey, we're struggling to run it. Let's get an extension of the run game going this way, and all you're doing is essentially building a run game that operates out of a screen, right? And so getting him going in that sense is nice, and it's something that we haven't seen really much from Devin Singletary before. Now, if we could just keep Zach Moss off the field and give Singletary those reps, he could have like nice, productive, normal running back 1 days.
Yeah, I would love to see where Cook's athleticism gives him the chance to do that, but baby steps.
Yeah.
Flipping to the defensive side of the ball, Matt Milano and Edmonds, awesome. Milano had 13 tackles, Edmonds 9, both of them 2 tackles for a loss. Edmonds had a really nice quarterback hit that was basically the same as a sack because he forced the throwaway on 3rd down that was a turnover, so a really big play there. Defensive line looked good again. Gregory Rousseau was in on a sack again. Von Miller got a sack. I thought the defense, besides that early, being put in a difficult position, I don't fault them really for giving up a touchdown on the 4-yard line to start. Yeah. They gave up that one bad drive. That one was really ugly where they gave up the 15-play, 81-yard drive. Really, the rest of the game, they held to either a field goal or got off the field the rest of the time, and they pitched a shutout in the second half to allow the comeback. I think this game, not that Josh Allen and the guys didn't deserve part of the comeback, but as far as that slice of pie goes, this defense really earned it today, and I think they were a big part of the comeback.
Yeah, if the defense doesn't lock it down, you don't even have a shot at this. And I forget who made the comment earlier, but it was right. This is the hottest offense in the NFL heading into this week by DVOA, by every standard that we can go through in a preview show. This was the hottest offense in the NFL, going against the best defense in the NFL. And I think ultimately them only putting up 20 points shows that this Bills defense won the match, even without a Micah Hyde. I think one of the stories that I'm most interested in outside of this game is, I don't know if I'll have time this week or not to really dig into the all-22 on this side, but I want to watch DeMar Hamlin's game because I think last week he had a sneaky nice game, but then it was sort of muddied in. You had 2 safeties back there that hadn't seen a lot of reps, and there's a lot of communication going on. So seeing him play with Jordan,
couple good plays, couple missed tackles,
couple bad plays, but I think I want to look. It's hard to see it on the broadcast, but I want to see how that looked because that was
safety's always the toughest,
and it's a tough one. And I want to see how much did Jordan Poyer and just his presence take away, and how much of it was Hamlin also doing a good job in playing that role with Poyer. I'm interested to see that, but I thought Taron had a nice game here today again. It didn't look like, I haven't seen the snap counts yet, but they didn't come out of nickel today.
I don't think so. I don't.
They're not coming out of it for the Ravens guys.
No, absolutely not.
Like I think this is it. It's here to stay.
Yeah, we were talking about it beforehand that if there was a game, the Ravens were the game where you could see.
Weather,
I've been joking about the 3-3-5 and hey, this is the time to do it because you want to keep the speed on the field to keep up with Lamar.
Maybe if we see him again in the playoffs,
I could see it get sprinkled in somewhere.
But they trust. this defense.
Yeah, correct. They do. And I think maybe if you have Ed Oliver and Jordan Phillips, it gives you some more options there inside where they can penetrate more as a single D tackle. But either way, you're in a position now where it put you there. And, I wanted to credit the defensive line. I wanted to credit the linebackers because I really wanted to wait and give all the flowers to Jordan Poyer. 4 interceptions in 3 games. 2 critical interceptions today when they needed it. Had to go for x-rays afterwards. We did. Thank you for the guys in the chat that shared it. And Joe Biscaglia confirmed that he just had the wind knocked out of him. They did do x-rays on his ribs, but he's fine. He confirmed he's fine. Absolutely critical in the position that they're in. He stepped up, a bunch of young guys all around him in the secondary, pretty much just Taron Johnson. Everybody else, a young guy, first time starting Dane Jackson, literally a rookie with Elam, a young guy first starting next to him at DeMar Hamlin. He's the guy keeping everything together. And to have a game with 6 tackles, 3 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, this was an absolute, this is an all-pro moment for Jordan Poyer to confirm that he deserved those flowers next year. He deserves to get paid. And I get it that there's some challenge of well, you can't really pay both Tremaine Edmonds or Jordan Poyer. I like Tremaine Edmonds. I am a Tremaine Edmonds defender more than almost anyone else. I get yelled at for being an apologist for Tremaine Edmonds. I want to keep Tremaine Edmonds long-term. If I have to choose between the two, I don't care about the age. Jordan Poyer is so much better at his position. I'm fine paying Jordan Poyer at 31 years old, going into his age 32 season, rather than Tremaine Edmonds if you force me to pick between the two. And he showed it today. He is so impactful when he is on the field. I'm fine paying him at 32, 33, and 34 to still be our safety for 3 more years. And if that means I got to kind of figure it out with somebody as a rookie, first round pick next to Matt Milano next year, because we have to pick between the two and I have to let Tremaine Edmonds walk, I'm okay making that difficult choice because I saw what life was like with neither Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, and I'm not interested in it.
That's too far for me, I think. Because I think this game solidified paying Tremaine Edmonds.
It's totally fair. Totally
fair. Like that's where I walked away from this game. I get it with Poyer.
And by the way, I can work out the math to keep both.
Sure.
And if I can work out the math to keep both,
Brandon Bean can.
Brandon Bean's way smarter than me.
I'm not sure
he can figure out a way to keep both.
And let's pump the brakes to we've done this different off seasons of well, it's either Matt Milano or Darrell Williams. And you end up getting, not that Tremaine Edmonds and Poyer are the same as that.
He's found ways to keep all the guys before.
Yeah. So, and you've said it before, and I know other people have said it before. A Super Bowl parade does an awful lot of keeping teams together. There's an awful lot of hangover.
Tampa Bay had no chance to bring back Gronk and Levante David and Ndamukong Suh and
but you all get drunk
Shaq
at the
Barrett.
Super Bowl parade.
And literally they all said drunkenly into microphones in the Super Bowl parade, we're coming back, we're going to run it back. And they did. And they kept everybody. Real quick, Bills Mafia here asking, will Trey White be back next week? Trey White is eligible to be back next week. No one knows if he's
so we were on
back.
Trey White watch.
Yeah, if anybody tells you they know, they're lying. They're guessing. They're just trying to sound smart after the fact. He is eligible. He could be back. My guess is still the week after against Kansas City.
Yeah. But so back, I'm very much on I want to keep Tremaine Edmonds as a long-term part of this defense and a cornerstone of this defense going forward. I want to keep both guys, but coming out of this game, Tremaine still has I think if anything, he solidified his spot for me to maybe start having those conversations with his agent a little bit. I think the Jordan Poyer ship sailed, unfortunately, unless it comes down to, like you said, drunken conversations at the Super Bowl weekend parade where it's all right, let's run this thing back one more time, where we get so damn close that he just can't live with the taste in his mouth and is willing to take whatever offer Bean does have on the table. I'm sure Bean's got something for him. It's just not what his team wants. And I just don't know. I trust Bean enough if they didn't get a deal done before the season that unless it's a Super Bowl hangover deal that I just can't see it coming. But I do think even though they didn't get the deal with Edmonds done, I think he's playing the last couple of weeks, this case he's building for being a part of this team is big. If he goes on the free market, he's going to get paid.
Either way, both guys made more money today.
Correct.
Either way, both guys earned more money today.
And Milano proved to be a good value.
Yeah, correct. Correct. He's a
So that was fun.
fantastic
What a
value.
great value.
I will say there was a couple plays. I know a couple folks in the chat were giving like AJ Epinesa a hard time, some of the defensive linemen a hard time.
Dude,
Lamar Jackson is the hardest assignment in the NFL. Harder. Like, I love Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen is better overall. Like, from a
that first step
it
of
takes from
Lamar's,
the front
though,
seven, Lamar Jackson is the hardest assignment in football. Like, I think Josh is a better passer and he's better overall. But as far as like, hey, front seven, contain that guy, that's the hardest assignment in football. So any defensive lineman that didn't look awesome against Lamar Jackson, I'm going to give him a pass. The defensive line has looked really good this season, and they pitch a shutout in the second half. I'm okay.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of frustration in the game in seeing the amount of time that Lamar Jackson had. Lamar Jackson has more time to throw than any passer in the NFL because of the challenge that he presents. Like, he can stand back there, he can extend plays, he can make time. And
he makes teams muddle rush where they do that, like that, just keep the pocket and don't actually bend the corner.
Yeah, and we don't want to give him too much. And we saw there was a couple times where Vaughn had a rush where the Ravens allowed him to get that outside rush and kicked him outside and gave Lamar 10, 15 yards of free space. You can't do that. Like, he's going to kill you and get the free first down every single time. I agree with you that I think he's more difficult to defend right now than Josh Allen. I just think the Bills are so much better of an overall team front to back that they can suffocate you in different ways. But Lamar on his own, trying to account for him as a playmaker and an athlete, I think is tough. He can make every throw. He was pinpoint accurate throughout the entire game today. Barely made any bad throws. And his first step is so much different than anyone else's. But it's Michael Vick, but with a better arm and processes the game better.
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable. I felt bad for Leslie Frazier this week, especially sitting watching, like, because you can plan all you want. The Bills have one of the better schemes in the league and are schemed to stop a guy like this. Like, what do you want to stop Lamar Jackson? You want a team that plays solid zone, can get to a quarterback with 4 rushers, and is going to make you play bend but don't break. And obviously it worked in this game, but he definitely stressed them in that first half.
Yeah. I love this Xylicider here with a good one. He's Schrodinger's linebacker. He's both bad, and we worry about he's going to cost a large contract at the same time. Like, that's awesome. He's not only horrible, but he's so horrible that we're really worried about how much money all the other teams are going to pay him with his hard contract.
I will say the one thing that is super frustrated about Tremaine Edmonds, I think that is what gets him maybe in the most trouble, is that there was towards the end of the game there on their last drive, I think, Lamar had a scramble for first down, and it was him and Tremaine Edmonds in open field, which there isn't a player in the NFL that's going to win that, right?
And Lamar had like a 10-yard running start beforehand, because there was another play where Milano was there, but Milano, they had like a 5-yard start, and it was a lot more doable. Tremaine, good on Milano for making the ankle tackle, and Tremaine just had to kind of chase him to the edge and try to keep the angle and then take him down. But yeah, like,
Tremaine has like a slow turn and go. Like, his feet seem heavy on the turn and go, but then he caught up to him. He's just so tall, and he plays tall, and so he came in on that tackle too tall. You'd love to see him come in lower and wrap him up, but Lamar is going to make everybody look stupid in open field like that.
Yeah. So we went through the timeline order. We went through the box score here. Anyone else who needs flowers from you that you want to make sure to give a shout out for? From a coaching standpoint, I thought both offensive and defensive coordinator made great adjustments. I think both of them came out rough to let that hole get dug. I think that Frazier was falling into not pressuring Lamar at all. I thought that Dorsey was being weirdly conservative in some run pass stuff and not doing the like first down play actions, the most efficient play in football. We did very, very little of it.
There was some, like, it felt like some Dayball games where Twitter was frustrated, and it makes you wonder, though, is that just some of it Josh Allen checking out of stuff?
I think Josh Allen didn't have a great game, but overall he played awesome down the stretch to bring us back. He deserves credit. He did not play great early on. Some rough throws, rifling it in on times where he didn't have to. Some plays like that. I don't know. I don't know why Reggie Gilliam wasn't involved. This seemed like a good game to get him involved. But I want to credit both coaches, offensive and defensive coordinator, because they made great adjustments. I think that we got more aggressive, used tempo as we got going. Frazier started to mix it up. We used twists and stunts on the defensive line, looping guys outside to contain Lamar, and brought some blitzes that we normally don't bring. So that combination, credit to both of them for, hey, they deserve to get some blame for the rough start, but they both deserve credit for adjustments. I thought McDermott was excellent in his, time usage, game management. Both the end of the first half drive and the end of the game drive were textbook perfect clock management. So I appreciate that. I think overall special teams had a pretty good day. We gave up one legit return, but
against
otherwise
a
had good
super good
coverage.
unit.
Yes, always consistently excellent
Yeah.
special teams, but they did really well. Awesome punt from Sam Martin. Perfect holds and kicks from Tyler Bass. Good coverage overall. McKenzie had that one big time return. So overall, between the two, we did it. And ultimately, we finally put this stupid one score game thing to bed. They were amazing in 2020, and then last year were terrible and then lost another tough one.
It's funny
this
how
year.
you can just pick and choose a sample size and then make a whole argument that gets Twitter riled up. It's really crazy to me how that stuff works, but it's over now. We don't have to worry about one score games being a thing because the sample size just got destroyed.
Yeah, we're now undefeated. We are now 1-0 in our last one score game.
Yeah, 100%. So no, that's fantastic. What the biggest part about this is that loss last week, I think with the way injuries have piled up over the last couple of weeks, there's been sort of a cloud hanging over what has otherwise since freaking spring been nothing but flowers thrown towards this Bills team and nothing but this is going to be the best season we've ever had in our lives. Everybody's telling you like that, and early you kind of got stuck in a little bit of mud here with that injury report going 15 people deep, Greg, throughout the week here, and then you lose to the Miami Dolphins. Division game, tough, ugly game, right? Weird weather, more guys getting hurt, just like this cloud just hung over. And to go down to Baltimore in bad weather against the hottest offense in the NFL, against a guy that's getting all the MVP talk in the NFL, going into this game, they were the third highest chances, according to Football Outsiders, to go to the Super Bowl, according to their stats. Like, this team is as hot as you can be in the NFL on the road in playoff atmosphere to get a win like this, where you and I talked a bunch about if they came out 3-3 in these first few games, how good we would still feel going into that. And a game like Baltimore is one of those ones where I was on the fence of, like, if you're going to drop 3 in this first 6, that could be one of them. And to come out with a win, you needed that AFC win. Now you get a little bit of maybe a breather. I hate to say that in the NFL here with a week coming up here, but it seems like now's a good time to maybe get some guys back, or if you have some guys kind of hanging on that injury, I think maybe this week you could go one more week resting some of these guys before it gets real tough again, right?
Yeah. And I think that there's a lot to be said. I think in hindsight, that Miami game is going to have an awful lot of the feel of the New England Hurricane game from last year. When we look back, it's like, oh yeah, that was
that weird anomaly game.
That was a lot of weird stuff that went on, whether it was obviously the combination of the heat, the injuries that the heat caused, the entire thing for it, and the fact that even with that, with the insane heat, with the insane injuries, 16 players on the injury list, and they still lost by 2. It was 21-19 and had like 6 different plays it took to be able to create that loss. I have a feeling in hindsight, we're going to look back and that, today was a good example that they're not some untouchable juggernaut. This is not going to be Alabama against Fordham.
Some weeks it will be.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
There'll still be some weeks left. Yeah.
There's going to be plenty of boat races left this season, but not every week. They're not going to just boat race every single team. But this shows that this team can be tough. They can show mental fortitude. They can show the ability to kind of pull it together and pull out some of these tough wins. And these are some of the things we might need in a playoff run.
This might be one of Sean McDermott's favorite wins.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Like, as a head coach of the Buffalo Bills, like this, he is going to use this to fuel them any situation they're in, right? Like, harken back to this game and the mental toughness they showed. I'm sure, I don't know if anybody hopped over from listening to Sean McDermott, but I'm sure he's saying all those things like, oh, this was a great mental toughness, resiliency, all those things that he just gets off on. This was the absolute perfect Sean McDermott, like, see, look what we can do type of game.
Yeah, he wishes he could like breathe
bottle
this game in. If he could liquefy
adversity,
this and bathe in it, this is absolutely
shower
perfect.
people in this type of adversity. Yeah.
But stepping back here, obviously, I think we came out of this, again, a couple more injuries with what was there. Now Isaiah McKenzie. It sounds like we escaped with Jordan Poyer, Jamison Crowder. Need to get some of these guys back.
It seems like Gabe Davis is still lingering.
Yeah,
like he doesn't fully seem himself.
I'm fine giving him a week off. I'm fine giving Dawson Knox a week off. Like, we might need to look at some of those things here, especially heading into Pittsburgh. We'll get prepped for that game, but I'm ready to give them a breather here if we need to get them right down the stretch. But ultimately, this is a special team.
Speaking of weeks off, I don't think you're allowed. I think I looked at our operating agreement. You were no longer allowed to leave the country during the games
Yeah,
during the Bill
I'm
season.
I'm
Sorry.
legally prohibited from leaving the United
That's right.
States during the season. The Buffalo Bills are undefeated when I am within the continental United States here. When
In
I'm out of the
2020.
country,
Yeah.
yeah, they've actually, yeah, the Bills have only ever lost when I'm out of the country, so that's bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But ultimately, you guys were awesome in the chat tonight. We appreciate you, Aaron.
Very
Any
much.
final thoughts for the people?
Yeah, no, I do actually. I got a thought about. I'm gonna ruin this here about One Pass. I think everybody should sign up for Cover One Pass
Woo!
Club Access. You guys should have been in the Slack. I will say the first half of the Slack channel got a little rough. I had to pull back. There's nowhere safe on the internet during that first half.
No, when
So
things are ugly and the Bills are down 20-3,
it
there's no
doesn't
safe
matter
spot.
where you go. But the second half was fantastic. Even getting onto the show, I just heard if you are used to being on Slack, that notification just going off and off and off of just people being in this community and celebrating. And you can only get there by being a One Pass Club Access member. And you get a bunch more exclusive members only content, in-depth analysis, including scheme play and player breakdown, scouting reports, analytics analysis, access on unlimited devices, access to the Cover One community. Like I said, that Slack channel, access to all the Cover One contributors and behind the scenes content, $57, and you get a cool t-shirt and a decal. If you've been on Twitter, you've seen them floating around there. A lot of people are taking their pictures and sending them around. So very cool thing. And people ask all the time, Greg, how can they help? And that's it, right?
100%. All the things that we do, it takes money. All the things we have to buy, different access for and different sign-ons and the equipment we need and the things to produce the show and the podcast and all the different pieces. It costs us money to do those things.
All of it.
Really, that's what you're helping us do, is to be able to put all these things together, to be able to produce this content for you guys. Make sure you're checking out all the different things that are going on throughout the network. Fantastic shows. We're going to break down all the fun that came out of this show, the film room, everything there. And then we're going to switch gears Wednesday night, going to be ready to break down the Pittsburgh Steelers Buffalo Bills game in week 5. We'll talk about Trey White watch. We'll talk about the different pieces to make sure that we're ready, and then be able to get ourselves rolling into this season where we're very excited about all the capabilities and the things that this team is going to do. But again, thank you to everyone in the chat. You guys were fantastic. Thank you for all the generous super chats. You guys were awesome to us. We appreciate it very, very much. On behalf of Aaron Quinn, I'm Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.